I looked down. That fleeting moment of passing one another on the highway would be the last time our paths crossed. But then she stopped her car and turned to look in my direction. The world seemed to slow down for a heartbeat. My car was stuck in the highway traffic. Engines idling, exhaust curling into the gray evening sky. I'd been staring at my phone. At the crisp digital copy of the divorce decree that had landed 10 minutes prior. Matthew Marsden and Tiffany Scorsese. Marriage dissolved effective immediately. No joint assets left to fight over. No alimony, no claims. Signed away. Every right to her wealth beyond the 100 properties she gifted me. And she'd signed away the last thread of us. Without even reading what she'd put her name to. I'd thought that would be it. A clean break, a quiet exit. No drama, no scene. No last-minute chase, just two cars passing on a highway. Two lives diverging forever. But then she stopped. Tiffany's black luxury sedan. The one she'd refused to let me ride in unless Cedric wasn't around. Slammed on its brakes 100 yards ahead. Swerving slightly onto the shoulder. Her driver must have panicked. Because the tires screeched. Loud enough to cut through the hum of traffic. For a long suspended moment. The car sat there motionless as if the driver had forgotten how to operate it. Then the passenger door flew open. Tiffany Scorsese stepped out into the cold February wind, her designer coat flaring behind her. Her hair messy. Her heels clicking against the rough asphalt like a panic signal. He wasn't wearing makeup. Her face was pale. Her eyes wide. Her lips parted like she'd just been told the sky was falling. She turned directly at my car. My breath caught in my throat. I'd spent 5 years learning every micro-expression on her face. I knew the lazy smirk she gave Cedric across crowded rooms. I knew the cold, dismissive slant of her brow when she handed me another property deed. I knew the soft, fleeting warmth she'd worn only once. When she'd said she'd take me to see fireworks. But I had never seen her look like this, terrified. Desperate. Like she was watching her entire world vanish in front of her eyes. She took a step forward, then another. Her heels sinking slightly into the gravel. Her gaze locked onto mine through the tinted window. And for a second, I swear she could see me. She could see the suitcase at my feet. The divorce decree glowing on my screen. The final, quiet end of everything. We'd never really been Matthew. She whispered. So quiet I almost didn't hear it over the wind. My driver glanced at me confused. Mr. Marsden, do you want me to pull over? I stared at Tiffany standing alone on the highway. The woman who'd owned half a city. Who'd never begged for anything. Who'd never chased anyone. Who'd always left me standing in the rain. And for the first time in 5 years. She was chasing me. No. I said, my voice steady, unshaken. Keep going. The airport waits for no one. The car rumbled forward, slowly inching past the stopped sedan. As we drew level, I lifted my gaze and our eyes met again. Clear and unobscured. Her mouth opened like she wanted to scream. To beg, to demand I stop. But no sound came out. He just stood there frozen. Her hands clenched at her sides. Her chest heaving. I gave her a small final smile. The kind of smile you give someone when you're saying goodbye for the last time. Then my car moved past her and she vanished from the rearview mirror. Chapter 5, the plane took off an hour later. Climbing into the darkening sky. Leaving Cloud Ridge beneath me like a glittering cold dream. I'd left nothing behind. My suitcase held only clothes. A few old books and a single framed photo. The one taken the day we married in a small private ceremony. Just the two of us. Her smiling brighter than I'd ever seen her. Me believing foolishly that we had forever. I tucked it into the deepest pocket. Not because I wanted to keep it. But because I didn't have the heart to throw it away. Not yet. 100 properties. All leased, all managed by a remote agency. All generating more income than I could ever spend in a lifetime. I was rich beyond measure. Richer than I'd ever imagined. Richer than most people could fathom. But for the first time in my life. Wealth felt worthless, empty, free. I'd spent 5 years collecting her apologies in the form of mansions. Penthouses, beach villas. Historic mansions. Each deed was a band-aid over a broken heart. Each signature was a reminder that I was worth less than a few hours. With her first love. 99 times I'd forgiven her. 99 times. I'd taken the property and smiled and waited for her to come back. The 100th time I'd handed her a divorce agreement. And she'd signed it without reading it. Just like she'd signed every other piece of paper I'd put in front of her, just like I'd known she would. The plane's intercom crackled. Offering drinks and snacks. I declined. Staring out the window at the twinkling lights of Cloud Ridge. Shrinking into the distance. City of her empire, the city that called her queen. The city that had been my prison for half a decade. I thought leaving would hurt. I thought I'd cry or regret or feel some hollow ache of loss. But I didn't. I felt nothing but quiet. Unbroken peace. Jillian called me mid-flight. Her voice shaky, panicked. Like she was on the verge of being fired. Mr. Marsden, she breathed. Where are you? Miss Scorsese has lost her mind. She's been calling every 10 minutes. Screaming at everyone, demanding to know where you went. She went to the western suburbs mansion and you were gone. She went to your old home and it was empty. She's checking every airport. Every train station, every hotel. I'm on a plane to Newford. I said calmly. Silence. Then Jillian let out a shaky breath. You really did it. You really left her. I really did. Does she know about the divorce? I paused, staring at the clouds. She signed the papers. She just didn't read them. Another silence, heavier this time. Mr. Marsden, Jillian said quietly. She's not herself. She's terrified. I've never seen her like this. Not even when Cedric left the first time. He keeps saying that you can't be gone. That you have to come back. That she messed up, that she didn't mean it. Jillian, I interrupted gently. It's too late. The divorce is final. It went into effect an hour ago. I could hear her swallow. Miss Scorsese doesn't know that yet. She said. I know. And I didn't care. Not anymore. I ended the call, set my phone to airplane mode and closed my eyes. For the first time in 5 years. I slept without dreaming of her coming home. Chapter 6, Newford was everything Cloud Ridge wasn't. Quiet, unassuming. No one knew my name. No one knew I was the secret husband of the Queen of Cloud Ridge. No one cared that I owned 100 mansions I'd never live in. I rented a small, cozy apartment near the waterfront with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the harbor. It was modest, simple. Nothing like the palaces Tiffany had given me. But it was mine. No strings. No apologies, no hidden costs. I spent my days walking along the docks. Reading in cafes, cooking for myself. Sleeping until I woke up. Naturally. I didn't check my social media. I didn't check the news. I didn't look up anything about Tiffany Scorsese. Or Cedric Gardner or Cloud Ridge. I let it all vanish. For 2 weeks. I lived like a ghost, peaceful and invisible. Then the messages started. They came through a private, untraceable number. No name. No caller ID, just text after text after text flooding my phone. The second I turned off airplane mode. They were all from Tiffany. At first they were angry, demanding. Where are you? Come back immediately, Matthew. This isn't funny. Stop hiding. I'll find you. I own every private security firm in 3 states. Then they turned confused. Why did you leave? I said I'd take you to see the hot air balloons. I cancelled my plans with Cedric. I was on my way. Why didn't you wait for me? Then they turned desperate. Matthew, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I messed up. I know I messed up. Come back and I'll never see him again. I promise. I'll delete his number. I'll block him. I'll stay with you. I'll do anything. Please don't leave me. I read every single one and I didn't reply to a single one. I'd spent 5 years begging her to stay. Now she was begging me to come back. Karma, I thought. Was a very wealthy woman. Jillian called again. Her voice exhausted. She's not eating. She's not sleeping. She's locked herself in Parting's Manor. The one you gave her to sign. And she won't let anyone in. She's been sitting in the study. Going through every property deed you ever gave her, crying. She keeps saying she doesn't understand why you left. Why you didn't fight, why you didn't beg her to stay. I stopped begging after the 99th time. I said. Jillian sighed. He's starting to put it together. Mr. Marsden. She's asking about the last document you handed her. She's had her lawyers pull the records. They're trying to hide it from her. But she's too smart. She'll find out about the divorce soon. Very soon. Let her. I said. I meant it. I'd given her every chance to choose me. 99 chances. The 100th was my turn to choose myself. Chapter 7. On the 3rd week after I left Cloud Ridge, I received a package. It was delivered by hand by a man in a tailored suit. No company logo, no return address. Just a sealed manila envelope. Heavy and stiff. I opened it on my waterfront balcony. The ocean breeze blowing through my hair. Inside were 3 things. First, a single photo. It was the wedding photo I'd packed away. The one I thought I'd left in the western suburbs mansion. Somehow she found it, had it framed in expensive gold and sent it to me. On the back in her messy, hurried handwriting was one sentence. I didn't know how to love you until I lost you. Second, a stack of property deeds. All 100 of them, every mansion. Every villa, every penthouse. Every historic estate she'd ever transferred to my name. She'd signed them all back over to herself. No conditions, no explanation, just voided. I stared at the stack of deeds. She had revoked the gifts. She had taken back the penthouses, the villas, the beach estates. My heart hammered a strange rhythm against my ribs. Was this anger? Was she stripping me of the wealth to punish me? I looked for the third item in the envelope to explain it. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a lawsuit. It was a small, velvet notebook, the cheap kind I used to buy at the corner store when we first met, before she inherited the empire. I opened it. The first page was stained with what looked like dried tears. I took the properties back because they were never gifts, Matthew. They were currency. I tried to buy your forgiveness because I was too cowardly to earn it. You left the money behind, which means you don't want my wealth. You want me. And I don't have the right to give you me yet. Not the version of me that hurt you. If we are ever to speak again, it won't be as a landlord and a tenant. It will be as equals. I have liquidated the assets. The money has been donated to the orphanage in Cloud Ridge where you used to volunteer. It's gone. I can't buy you back. I sat back in my chair, the ocean wind suddenly feeling very cold. She hadn't taken the money out of spite. She had burned the bridges she used to hide behind. I turned the page. There was only one other sentence. I am in the lobby of your building. I won't come up unless you invite me. I will wait. I looked at the timestamp on the package delivery. It was dropped off 4 hours ago. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked down at the street. It was raining now, a gray, miserable drizzle typical of Newford in March. Down on the sidewalk, standing next to a bench, was a solitary figure. No umbrella. No entourage. No black sedan. Just Tiffany, wearing a coat that looked too thin for the weather, her arms wrapped around herself, staring up at my balcony. She was soaking wet. She hadn't moved in 4 hours. Chapter 8, The Ghost in the Rain. I didn't invite her up. I couldn't. The wound was too fresh, the scar tissue too thin. If I let her into my sanctuary, the smell of her perfume, that expensive jasmine and sandalwood scent, would cling to my furniture and undo weeks of healing. Instead, I grabbed an umbrella and went down. When the automatic glass doors of the lobby slid open, she flinched. Her head snapped up. When she saw me, her face crumpled. She looked terrible. The queen of Cloud Ridge, who usually wouldn't be caught dead without a blowout and a tailored power suit, looked like a shipwreck survivor. Her mascara had run down her cheeks in dark, jagged rivers. Her lips were blue with cold. Matthew, she whispered. Her voice was cracked, raw. I stopped 5 feet away from her. I held the umbrella over myself, leaving her in the rain. It was a petty cruelty, one I wouldn't have been capable of 5 years ago. But 5 years of neglect changes a man. You're trespassing, Tiffany, I said quietly. I know, she shivered, her teeth chattering. I didn't want to buzz. I didn't want to intrude. You bought the building, didn't you? I asked, my voice devoid of emotion. That's how you got the address. No, she shook her head violently, water flinging from her hair. No, Matthew. I hired a private investigator. It took me 2 weeks. I didn't buy the building. I didn't buy anything. I swear. She took a step forward, her hand reaching out, then stopping in midair as she saw me recoil. She dropped her hand to her side. I read the divorce decree, she said, the words coming out in a rush, as if she was afraid I'd turn around and leave. I read every word. I know it's done. I know I'm not your wife anymore. Then why are you here? Because I had to see you, she choked out. I had to tell you that he's gone. I raised an eyebrow. Cedric? I fired him. I evicted him from the penthouse. I blocked his number. I told security if he ever steps foot in Scorsese Tower again, to break his legs. She was crying openly now, the rain mixing with her tears. I didn't realize until I saw your empty closet. He was just a habit, Matthew. He was just nostalgia. You were my life. And I didn't see it. You saw it, I corrected her gently. You just didn't care. There's a difference. I care now, she screamed, her voice breaking the quiet hum of the street. I care now. Doesn't that matter? Doesn't it count for anything that I drove 10 hours to get here? That I'm standing in the rain begging you? No, I said. The word hung in the air between us, heavier than the thunder rolling in the distance. Her face went slack. No. You're not grieving the loss of me, Tiffany, I said, adjusting my grip on the umbrella. You're grieving the loss of control. You're upset because for the first time in your life, something you own walked away. You don't love me. You're just panicked. That's not true, she sobbed, falling to her knees on the wet pavement. It was a shocking sight. Tiffany Scorsese, kneeling in the dirt. Test me. Tell me what to do. I'll do anything. I'll sell the company. I'll move here. I'll live in a shack. Just don't look at me with those dead eyes. Please, Matthew. Scream at me. Hit me. Do something other than this nothingness. I looked down at her. I felt a twinge of pity, but it was distant, like watching a character in a movie. Go home, Tiffany, I said. You'll catch pneumonia. I'm not leaving, she whispered into the asphalt. Then stay. I turned around and walked back into the building. I didn't look back. I got into the elevator, rode it to the 4th floor, and walked into my apartment. I went to the window. She was still there, a crumpled black heap on the sidewalk, the rain beating down on her back. I closed the blinds. Chapter 9, The Siege of Newford. She didn't leave. I woke up the next morning expecting her to be gone, chased away by the cold or her own pride. But when I walked to my usual coffee shop on 4th Street, she was there. She wasn't on the sidewalk anymore. She was sitting at a corner table in the cafe, wearing dry clothes, jeans and a sweater, far simpler than her usual attire. She had a laptop open. She looked exhausted, pale, and small. She didn't approach me. She saw me enter, her eyes widened, and she gave a small, tentative nod. Then she looked back at her screen. I ordered my black coffee and sat on the opposite side of the room. This became our routine for a week. Everywhere I went, she was there. Not intrusive, not loud. Just present. I went to the library, she was 3 tables away, reading a book on architecture, my profession, the one I'd given up to manage her estate. I went to the grocery store, she was in the next aisle, looking confusedly at a carton of eggs like she'd never bought groceries for herself before. She was dismantling her life to fit into the corners of mine. On the 8th day, Jillian called me. Mr. Marsden, or Matthew, Jillian corrected herself. I shouldn't be calling you. It's okay, Jillian. Is everything all right with the accounts? The accounts are fine. It's the company. The board is in a panic. Tiffany hasn't been to the office in 3 weeks. Stock is dipping. They're threatening a vote of no confidence. That sounds like Tiffany's problem, I said, slicing an apple in my kitchen. She's resigned, Matthew, Jillian said. I froze, the knife hovering over the fruit. What? She stepped down as CEO this morning. Appointed a steward. She retained ownership of the shares, but she gave up the chair. She told the board she had more important work to do in Newford. Jillian paused. She's renting a studio apartment on Baker Street. A walk-up. No doorman. She sold the Bentley. She bought a Honda. I slowly lowered the knife. Tiffany hated driving. She hated small spaces. She hated inefficiency. Why are you telling me this? Because, Jillian's voice softened. In 5 years, I watched her ignore you. I hated it. But I'm watching her now, Matthew. She's destroying everything she built just to be in the same zip code as you. I'm not saying you should forgive her. I'm just saying. I think this time, it's real. Chapter 10, The Honda and the Hurricane. I found her that evening. She was struggling to parallel park a dented gray Civic in front of her rundown apartment building. She curbed the wheels twice. She looked ready to scream, gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles were white. I tapped on the passenger window. She jumped, nearly hitting the gas. When she saw me, she rolled down the window manually, the car didn't even have power windows. You're going to strip the gears if you keep doing that, I said. I've never parked a car, she admitted, her voice tight. I always had a driver. Move over. She blinked. What? Move over. I'll park it. She scrambled over the center console into the passenger seat. I got in. The car smelled like cheap pine air freshener and anxiety. I shifted into reverse and slotted the car perfectly into the gap in one motion. I turned off the engine. Silence filled the small cabin. You quit, I said. Yes. You love that company. It's your grandfather's legacy. It was my excuse, she said, looking down at her hands. Her manicure was gone. Her nails were short, unpolished. I used the company to avoid intimacy. If I was busy, I didn't have to be vulnerable. If I was the boss, I didn't have to be a wife. Cedric. Cedric liked the boss. He liked the power. You wanted the woman underneath, and that terrified me. She turned to look at me. Her eyes were clearer than I'd ever seen them. I'm learning how to cook, she said softly. I burned pasta 3 times yesterday. I'm learning how to do laundry. I shrank my favorite sweater. I'm learning how to be a person, Matthew. Because I realized I didn't know how to be one without a staff. Why are you doing this? Because you fell in love with a woman who didn't exist, she said. I'm trying to build her. I'm trying to become someone worthy of the man I threw away. It's too late, Tiffany. I know, she said. And then she smiled. It was a sad, broken smile, but it was the most genuine thing she'd ever given me. I know I can't have you back. But I can't go back to who I was either. So, I'll just stay here. I'll learn to park this stupid car. I'll learn to boil water. And maybe, once in a while, I'll see you at the coffee shop, and you won't look at me with hate. I don't hate you, I said softly. I just pity you. I'll take pity, she whispered. Pity is a start. Chapter 11, The Fall. Spring turned to summer. Newford warmed up. The harbor turned a deep, sparkling blue. Tiffany didn't leave. She got a job. Not as an executive, but as a consultant for a small interior design firm. She was overqualified, but she took the grunt work. I saw her sometimes, walking to work in sneakers, carrying her own coffee. We started talking. It began with brief nods, then hello, then short conversations about the weather. Eventually, we started meeting for coffee on Sundays. It was strange. We were divorced. The papers were filed. Legally, we were strangers. But in those coffee shop hours, we were more married than we had been in 5 years living in the same mansion. She listened. That was the biggest change. She asked me about my books, my walks, my thoughts. She didn't check her phone. She didn't talk about mergers or acquisitions. She just listened, her chin resting on her hand, her eyes focused entirely on me. But the shadow of Cedric and the 99 properties still lay between us. One humid July evening, I got a call from the local hospital. Matthew Marsden? Yes. We have a Tiffany Scorsese here. She has you listed as her emergency contact. She's been in an accident. The world stopped. Is she? She's alive. But she was hit by a car while crossing the street. She has a broken leg, 3 fractured ribs, and a concussion. You need to come. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my keys and ran. When I burst into the ER room, she was lying in the bed, looking small and fragile amidst the wires and tubes. Her face was bruised, her leg elevated in a cast. Her eyes fluttered open when I entered. You came, she rasped. Of course I came. I pulled a chair up to the bedside, gripping her hand. It felt cold. I thought you'd let me rot, she whispered. Don't be stupid. She squeezed my hand weakly. Cedric called me, she mumbled, the pain medication making her slurry. He heard about the accident on the news. He asked if I was going to sue the driver. He asked if my insurance covered it. She closed her eyes, a tear leaking out. You didn't ask about the lawsuit, she said. You just ran. Rest, Tiffany. I love you, she said. It was simple. Unadorned. I love you, Matthew. Not because you're safe. Not because you're loyal. But because you're the only thing in my life that is real. And I broke you. Sleep, I said, brushing the hair off her forehead. I stayed that night. And the next. Chapter 12, The Fireworks. When she was discharged, I couldn't let her go back to her walk-up apartment. It had no elevator. I took her to my place. It was temporary, I told myself. Just until her leg healed. Just until she could walk. For 6 weeks, we lived in a domestic intimacy that terrified me. I cooked for her. I helped her to the bathroom. We watched movies on my small couch. One night, the city of Newford held its annual summer festival. Fireworks over the harbor. I wheeled her wheelchair out onto the balcony. The sky exploded in reds and golds, the thunder of the pyrotechnics rattling the glass. I watched her face. She was watching the lights with the wonder of a child. The reflection of the fireworks danced in her eyes. You promised, she said softly, not looking away from the sky. What? 5 years ago. I promised I'd take you to see fireworks. But I cancelled last minute because Cedric wanted to go to a gala. She turned to me. I never took you. We're seeing them now, I said. She reached out and took my hand. Are we? I looked at our joined hands. The scars of the past were still there. The memory of the loneliness. The 99 deeds. But the woman holding my hand wasn't the Queen of Cloud Ridge. She was a woman in a cast, wearing one of my oversized t-shirts, who had given up an empire to learn how to park a Honda Civic just to be near me. Matthew, she said, her voice trembling. I know I signed the divorce papers. I know I lost you. But, is there any chance? Any chance at all? Not for us to go back. But for us to start over? Can I take you on a first date? Can I try to win you, for real this time? I looked at the fireworks fading into smoke against the dark sky. I had built a life of peace here. A life without drama. A life without her. But peace, I realized, was sometimes just another word for loneliness. I looked at her. I saw the fear in her eyes. The desperation. But also the hope. You have nothing, I said. No empire. No millions accessible. You're just Tiffany. Just Tiffany, she agreed. Is she enough? I thought about the last 6 months. The rain. The coffee shop. The hospital. I squeezed her hand. Ask me again when you can walk, I said quietly. If you're still here, if you still want this when your leg is healed and the pain is gone, then you can ask me on a date. She started to cry, silent happy tears. I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. Chapter 13, The First Date. 3 months later. The autumn leaves were turning gold in Newford. I stood outside a small Italian bistro on the waterfront. I checked my watch. 7 p.m. A taxi pulled up. Tiffany stepped out. She was walking without a cane now, though with a slight limp that the doctors said might never fully go away. A permanent reminder of her time in Newford. She was wearing a simple red dress. Not couture. Off the rack. She looked beautiful. She walked up to me, nervous, wringing her hands. Hi, she said. I'm Tiffany. I smiled. It was the first genuine, unburdened smile I had given her in half a decade. Hi Tiffany, I said. I'm Matthew. Nice to meet you, Matthew, she breathed, her eyes shining. I hear you like old books and quiet walks. I do. Would you like to get dinner with me? I offered her my arm. I'd love to. She took my arm, holding on tight, as if I anchored her to the earth. We walked into the restaurant together. I didn't know if we would make it. I didn't know if the ghosts of the past would eventually tear us apart. I didn't know if she would one day miss her throne and resent her simple life. But as we sat down at the small candlelit table, and she looked at me with adoration instead of distraction, I knew one thing. The Matthew Marsden who had been a prop in her life was dead. The man sitting here was chosen. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't looking at a reflection of myself in a rearview mirror, driving away. I was looking forward. So, she said, opening the menu. Tell me everything. And I did.